So is this a practice or is this the actual thing?
This is a real thing.
Are you fucking with the tick?
This is Barbie Jitsu podcast number 2. I'm here with my best friend Samantha Swift.
Hi.
Today we're trying video, so we'll see how this goes.
Yeah.
This is the second attempt.
Yeah.
First one ended in disaster. But I'm here. I want to introduce you briefly. Sam is the former personal training director of the LA Fitness Centerville location in Ohio. She's a former multi-sport athlete, an avid weightlifter, very into fitness, and soon to be jiu-jitsu training partner. So thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Glad to be here.
I know it's been a little crazy
Yes,
trying to get you
it
scheduled
has.
in. But, so today I want to talk about something that I touched on last podcast, but something that I feel like you have a lot better experience with than me, because the way I grew up, bullying was not a big factor in my life. I mean, I had brothers, so I got bullied, but it wasn't the same way, like we talked last time about how girls are terrible to each other. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of want to dive right in, because I know that you've had some really formative experiences.
Yeah.
That have really changed the way you interact with the world and interact with other people, and just change the way that you are as a person.
Yeah, definitely.
So, so I know that, like, when you were younger, and this happens, like, I'll get into the psychology about it later, but, like, as a person, you tend to be so accommodating and just so kind-spirited and helpful and just wonderful. Like, you're a completely loyal friend,
Thank you.
Loyal as a dog. You're just kind everywhere we go, even when people don't deserve it. You're much kinder than I could ever hope to be. And I think that a lot of times that trait gets misinterpreted as a weakness, especially in this culture that we're really trying to push and, like, create strong women, but what does that mean?
Right.
And I think that a lot of times in that growth process, and I know it happened with me, becoming a strong woman meant being an unkind would And that's not something that I think you ever went through because of some of these experiences.
Yeah, no, not really.
Okay, so what would you mind sharing a little bit
Yeah,
of
sure.
some of the details?
So I grew up on the East Coast, mostly in Massachusetts, but I went to middle school specifically in Connecticut, in the right outside of New York, in the suburbs of Connecticut. And so, in middle school, things can get a little dicey when it comes to cliques and bullying and trying to figure out, who you're becoming in the world. And so, unfortunately, I befriended a group of girls that ended up being very, very mean to me. And, I ended up having to seek outside help, like a little bit of therapy, just to get over it.
So it's pretty extreme bullying.
Yeah,
This
it was.
wasn't your run-of-the-mill.
No,
stuff.
it was not. It was definitely pretty intense. It, I won't go into specifics, but there was a lot of, just not just hateful words, but really hateful action.
Yeah.
And, just a lot of things that you would be surprised that 13-year-olds can do to another person.
Yeah.
But anyway, so, I think that it shaped me in a person in a couple of different ways. Obviously, I've been through bullying, so I'm never going to treat somebody the way that I was treated by those group of girls. And I'm very sensitive to, when people just are mean for no reason. I'm probably the first person to call somebody out on that. Love you, but I'm probably the first one to be like, it's a little harsh. And yes, I think it has negatively affected me and positively affected me negatively. I think that I'm a people pleaser inherently through and through. I am almost always looking to make the other person happy over myself. If there's a situation, I don't like confrontation, so I normally am like, well, if that makes you happy, then we'll just go with it, which is not the best. However, I do have a lot of, benefits that have come from it. I've become a much stronger person. Again, I'm really adept to when people are just unnecessarily mean, and I think, I don't know. I think it's just, it's an unfortunate situation, but at that age, I think, I think we were talking about this a little bit in our first podcast, that there's
Round
sort
one.
of, there's a lack of structure there. There needs to be some way or some person to show you that women empowering other women is really great, and tearing each other down in this competition type thing. I think we grow up thinking that women need to compete against each other. There's so many things in the, in social media and from, our family and friends and just everywhere around us that really pits women against each other, unfortunately. Inadvertently, too. It's not
and it happens
totally
in
blatant.
Adulthood, too. Like, you run into mean girls in adulthood.
Exactly.
Like,
and
at
so
the workplace.
We're just trained to do that instead of empower each other.
Yeah.
And I feel like when I was in team sports, that really taught me how to be empowering to other women.
Yeah. Well, I was reading a little bit about this, and they said that, this is crazy to me. So they said that when at age 4, boys start to manifest their aggression physically. And so age 4 is pretty young, right? My nephew Danny is 4.
Yeah.
Okay. He's barely speaking full sentences half the time.
Yeah.
Like, so he's barely conscious. He's not self-conscious at all. Like, he's barely alive as a person, if that makes sense. Like, he's not meant. So it starts that early. It starts at 4. And boys start to manifest their aggression and their personality very physically. And girls start to manifest it at age 4 in socially manipulative behavior.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to me because, like, they do it, and it starting at age 4, they do it so well that oftentimes, like, they're well liked by their parents and by other peers and by authority figures in general. And that's crazy to me because it lets me know on some level that these girls know what they're doing is wrong. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely wrong because they feel the need to hide it. Like, they're showing 2 different faces. Yeah. So one face is face you show mom and dad. Like, oh, I'm so sweet. I'm your straight A student. I would never hurt a fly. And then you get them away from that and into another situation, and they are vicious, queen bee mindset, like mean girls that are just out there to destroy.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy to me that it starts that old, like that young, and it just continues. I mean, I work with a couple mean girls in their 60s. You would think you'd outgrow it by then.
No,
but
no, it manifests, especially if it's in everyday life and you're seeing it everywhere.
Yeah.
And especially, and this is the scary part, it's especially if it works for you. If you are getting what you want because you're mean, if you're if you're so used to being in that way that you get what you want and you don't care who you step on in the process, you don't care who you hurt.
Right. Well, a lot of times they're rewarded because most people, especially like, I don't know if guys even know it's happening. So, like, a lot of times in the workplace, in my experience in my workplace, the men in the workplace just give into it because they're that's the strongest voice in the room. Yep. And the women in the workplace are either too afraid to interfere and to stop it, or they go with it as well because it fits their agenda, or because, like, a lot of these, like, mean girl types are like queen bee types, so they have their little posse. And everybody else has to fall in line, or, like, your life is miserable. Right. Yeah. And, I mean, just an example of how bad it can be, and I know you got fairly close to this point. There's a story about a teenager in Florida, 13, so barely a teenager. All right. And this story just, like, it just makes me so upset to read about, but there was this girl in Florida, and she was in about middle school, so about 12, 13, and she had a younger friend, and she dated this guy, which happens, in middle school dating is not serious, but she did the wrong thing socially, And this older girl who was obviously like a mean girl type, a bully, befriended this other girl's best friend who was younger than her. And the two of them teamed up and bullied her to the point of suicide.
Yeah.
And that's just, I mean, why? That's something that I've never fully understood, because I've never had, because like bullying comes from insecurity, right? And then you exploit other people's insecurity to have
much.
some kind of sense of power. Is that how it works? Because I know you've been
That's
through.
generally how it works. Yeah. I mean, every situation is different, but for the most part, it's the person that is the bully usually has some sort of issue where they are not confident in themselves, or they have a home life issue that they are taking out on other people, and they feel that they aren't competent enough in the world, and so they then go, even, and a lot of times this is totally subconsciously, they don't know they're doing this,
Right.
But they just feel either that they want other people to suffer like they're suffering, or they do not have control in some aspect of their life, and so they try to take that control away from other people. They try to, and anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is just from my experience.
Yeah.
They look for validation. They just want to be more powerful, and they want to know that there's someone that feels less than them, that feels weaker.
Okay. So that's something that, like, I mean, you know me, and I'm gonna share. I told you I had a surprise story for you, and I don't want to share too much yet because I want to get into that. But I just feel like girls were naturally empathetic and naturally trusting. Women, as in general, we're biologically engineered to be that way because. In the grand scheme of nature, I feel like we were biologically engineered to knit communities together, which is super powerful.
It is, yeah.
And we do that by tying together and forming relationships. But how do you form a relationship? And that's you build strong relationships are built on trust and openness. And so I feel like mean girls, girls especially, girl bullies especially, are really excellent at creating this bond of friendship first, and building that wall of trust, that very thin, I mean, we've been friends for so long.
Yeah.
That our foundation of trust is 10 miles deep.
Yeah, it's super solid.
We have been through thick and thin, even when we're being the worst friend to each other that we can imagine. At the end of the day, we're standing on this firm foundation of trust and honesty with each other.
Right.
And I feel like maybe one of the reasons that mean girls are so effective and so devastating to not only women, but to men and to everybody around them. So this is a destructive behavior at any age, because it's actually decaying the foundation of what it is to be a good human. Yeah. And so I feel like one of the reasons that these girls are so devastating, and a lot of these are situations that if you're outside of the situation, you're that shouldn't affect you that deeply. It shouldn't affect you that this mean girl threw your clothes in the shower and turned on the water.
Which is a true story, by the way.
Yeah, and it shouldn't affect you, it shouldn't have such a deep effect on you that, they paid your crush to ask you out.
Yeah.
And then dump you.
Right.
So on the outside, and even in hindsight, you're that wasn't a big deal. But I think it's so effective because these girls and these women, they build this foundation of friendship. So they lure you in with a honey stick, They're oh, come over here, I'm kind, I'm nice, I'm loyal, I'm a good friend, I can get you the things you need, and I'm gonna be there for you. And then they slowly start to pick at you and figure out what are your secrets, and what are your insecurities, and what makes you unsure, and what can they exploit, and what can they lord over you, and
So yes, I absolutely do agree with that. However, they don't necessarily pick and choose somebody. They don't befriend you just to do that. I feel like they befriend you and then they see you as a threat. So first of all, absolutely true. The girls that were bullies to me were, I thought, my best friends. These were a group of 4 or 5 girls that I was in a clique with, and for, a while everything was great. And then suddenly they would do things like pay the guy that I had a crush. We would have sleepovers and talk about our crushes, and I would tell them, and then they would go and tell him, and then pay him to ask me out, and then dump me in front of the entire school.
Yeah.
Or, take my gym clothes, or while we're in gym class, take my regular clothes, put them in the shower, turn the water on so that I had to wear gym clothes the whole day, which, if you're a 13-year-old, that's awful.
The school mandated gym clothes.
Yeah, just the worst.
If you have to wear that for the rest of the day. Basketball shorts and that gray T-shirt that you had to write your name on in Sharpie.
Yep, just awful. So, and you're right. In hindsight, that's not necessarily the worst thing ever. When you're 13, it is. But when you look back on it, the issue is that I trusted these girls. Right, I told them secrets. I gave them a piece of myself. Because I thought I could trust them. I gave them my loyalty. And they ruined that. And the reason why, and this is what my therapist told me, is that there's always different reasons, but the biggest reason is that you get into a friend group, and the queen bee and her second in command, there's almost always a number 1 and a number 2, and they are best friends.
Yeah, tight.
And the queen bee feels threatened by one member of the clique. And so and I don't know if that's, I have natural leadership skills, or I am just a naturally social person, and everyone kind of just flocks to me because I talk to people, and I'm super extroverted, and I'm just inherently, I don't want to go and list all the great things about me, but those
are very.
But I'm a nice person. I'm easy to talk to.
You're fun to talk to.
Thank you. So but those are all threatening things, and when someone is kind of honing in on this idea of, oh my gosh, they could be taking that position of my queen bee spot, they get threatened, and then that's when they go, okay, and they don't necessarily, you're 13, you don't think I'm the queen bee and I'm going to be overthrown.
When you're older, you don't even think that. You
not
just
really
see
it's
a threat.
Just it's a natural, and again, like I said, we're programmed to see a threat from other women because we're just used to that competition, and then you need to eliminate that threat. And so we need to push them down, into the dirt long enough and to make them weak enough that they know that they can, never.
They need to submit to you. And they do that by taking your trust and breaking it.
Yeah, and taking that loyalty.
That's why it's so devastating.
It is.
I think at the end of the day. It's not the act itself, it's what the act symbolizes, which is taking a very sacred part of you and a very sacred bond and breaking it. And then, enjoying the aftermath.
Yeah,
enjoying the pain and just watching it burn.
It totally ruins your trust in people and your relationships with people. I went all throughout middle school and the beginning of high school thinking, if I'm friends with this person, I need to keep them at an arm's length no matter what, because just in case they could hurt me again.
Well, here's an interesting anecdote. So when I first started jiu-jitsu, I went to the gym for an informational because I wanted to check out the gym. I wanted to see what was going on and who was there. And I was there, and there was this other girl who looked a lot like me, honest to God. She was blonde, she was petite. I think I had 20 pounds on her, but whatever. That's and she'd done jiu-jitsu before. She'd done martial arts before. So she had just moved in, I think, from Oklahoma. And so I'm an introvert, so I'm not terribly comfortable in social situations where I don't know anybody, and I was already out of my comfort zone because as I talked about before with the origin of Barbie Jitsu is that I really didn't feel like I belonged there. I really didn't feel like this is something I could do. This is something that I was welcome. I was convinced that I was going to make an absolute fool of myself, but I just knew that I needed to go and do something very physical and very aggressive again. So I'm there with this other girl, and she was telling the woman who was giving us our informational a few things about herself, and so that's how I found out that she'd done it before and how she was from Oklahoma originally and everything. And so we go to watch a class, which they were kind enough to let us do. And we're sitting there, and it's when you don't know jiu-jitsu, it's kind of hard to watch because it's just sweaty people rolling around and grabbing each other.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which now, without trying to segue too much, now I realize that they're playing mental chess with each other's bodies.
Yeah.
And it's just been really cool because I have, not only has my body gotten a lot stronger, in ways that I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah.
but my brain is getting really strong. Like, I'm picking up things, like, super fast.
Yeah.
Like, so I've always been a fast learner, but I'm learning so fast now that it's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Like, and the technique. So we're watching this. I don't really know what's going on, but it looks cool, and I already know I want to do it. And I'm kind of excited because I'm here with this other girl, and there's not another girl on the mat. You know, I haven't seen another girl except for this one, the like receptionist or whoever this woman is that's teaching us about it. Mm-hmm. And so I'm trying to strike up a conversation with this girl, like, okay, I might be doing jiu-jitsu with this girl, and she's about the same size as me, and I bet you anything they'd put us together. And so I was like, oh, okay, like, and she wasn't speaking to me at all. She was like not looking at me. She was just sit back. She was like dead faced.
Yeah.
Kind of looking a little mean, but I was like, maybe that's just her face. It happens. Not really speaking to anybody, but maybe she's shy too.
Right.
You know, just kind of nodding, just being like, yeah, I know. And I'm like, she's done it before, so she knows. So I ask her, you know, what brings you to Ohio? And she goes, work. No elaboration, not even a very pleasant tone of voice, just really cut it off. And I'm thinking maybe she's shy. Maybe she's not sure how to, you know, talk to another girl in a situation like this. Because when I played rugby, I kind of ran in, when I first started doing rugby recruitment for my club, I ran into the same situation where I was a little awkward at talking to other women about it because I'm really passionate about it and I don't want to scare people away with that. Mm-hmm. Because when I get passionate about something, it's balls to the wall.
Oh, yeah.
It is like
that is one thing that 100%.
And I drive you crazy.
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes.
So I'm thinking maybe it's something like that. So I told her, I was like, so you've done this before? And she goes, yeah. So I ask her, which one should I do? Should I do the Muay Thai? Should I do the jiu-jitsu? I've never done this before. What do you like best? And she just didn't say anything. She just ignored it.
It's very cold.
Yeah, and the vibe I was getting, and I know that a lot of people are like, you can't tell somebody from their vibes. I can tell somebody from their vibes.
Yeah, it's pretty... Well, it's first impressions. They make a difference. You get to know somebody in 3 seconds.
If I meet you and I'm trying to be nice to you and you're just kind of being like real shut off and frigid for no reason...
I got your vibe.
I've got your vibe.
Figured it out.
So I'm sitting there and she's just frigid. She's shut off. I'm trying to be nice. And I'm like really out of my element. And for me, when I meet a girl that's out of her element, I try to befriend her so that she knows she's not alone.
Absolutely.
And so at this point, I'm like, I'm done talking to you. But what I don't know why this girl was like this.
Right.
And when we left, she was kind of rude. And she was kind of rude to the gym. She told me, she goes, you should really look elsewhere. Like, there was a problem with my gym. Or this gym, which I'm at now because I liked everybody there. Because everybody there were, like, amazing people.
Right.
So, and then I was just trying to, be friendly and be like, oh, yeah, I'm just trying to get some aggression out after work. And she just had this, like, condescending, well, I'm really glad you found something. And I was just like, what? What's wrong with you? But when I look back on that, I think that it was kind of like what you're talking about, where maybe she might have felt threatened because if she's used to being one of the only girls doing jiu-jitsu, and I'm guilty of this too, it becomes sort of like your identity.
Yeah.
And when another girl kind of moves into that space, especially one that looks like you.
Yeah. It's very much who is going to be the one.
It becomes a battle for who's queen bee.
Right. Yeah.
And I wasn't going to engage in that battle, but she was. If I had, and it was just like a weird thing that happened, like my very first introduction to it. But, I'm kind of like, she doesn't go there. I've never seen her again. And I'm kind of glad because I guess she went to one of the classes and she was just real, they said she was like real stuck up. Just real closed off, not very friendly. She'd obviously done it before. She was talented, they said, but just real mean. And so I'm kind of glad because honest to God, I love those guys up there. It's funny because they feel like my brothers already.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess they've
like you need more brothers.
Right. Well, but this kind of gets into something else too. And this is something I struggled with my whole life. And this is actually my surprise story for you.
Okay.
So I grew up with 5 brothers to start with, which is enough to make any girl a little different. but my mom grew up with 4 brothers. So there's never been a highly feminine influence on my life. Mm-hmm. And I've always felt more comfortable around men because I understood their language a little better.
Yeah.
And it's not like I just like guys better. They're easier. There's
they're
no
a little
drama.
bit more straightforward.
Right. And so
what you see is what you get.
Right. And so I grew up in this situation because girls are very subtle. Like, women are very subtle.
We are, yeah.
And we don't always, like, we're not great at expressing our emotions. Even I'm not great. Mm-hmm. But, so I've always had a lot of trouble making girlfriends. Mm. And it's because I didn't understand, like, the language they were speaking. I would hate, and I've always had girlfriends. I've always wanted to be really close with, like, very feminine, girly people. But when I got into those situations, I just felt lost because I had no idea how any of this stuff worked. I didn't wear makeup until I was almost 16. Mm-hmm. You would not catch me in a dress until 2 years ago. My mom was actually joking with me that if somebody had told me that my favorite color would be a shade of pink and that I would have a podcast where I self-proclaim myself doing Barbie Jitsu, I would fight them. And that's true.
Yeah.
But it's always been kind of like a lifelong quest where I've always wanted these friends and I always wanted to be better at it. But I just felt kind of scared because I didn't speak the language and my perception and my experiences up until that point, because I'd had a few mean girl experiences, and they didn't have the same effect on me because I don't think I fully understood what they were trying to do. Mm-hmm. So ignorance is bliss in that case.
Right.
Because they would ask me my secrets, and then they would, like, try to exploit them by, like, telling the truth to people, and I would just be like, okay, yeah, I don't know why you brought that up right now, but... Yeah. That's true. And I still do that.
That's true, yeah.
But I knew that they were trying to hurt me. And so I had a little bit of a distrust in ultra feminine girls. Mm-hmm. And that's probably where my distaste for the cheerleader types comes from.
Well, it's probably because they were a little bit more held back. And there's a lot there that, like, it's much more internal than external, and you can look at somebody and see them externally and think, okay, I gotta, whereas, and I'm not saying that this is scientific or whatever, but just from my own experience, guys are just a little bit more external. Like, you can kind of get a gist for them because they're, like I said, they're more straightforward. And so if that's something that you're used to being straightforward.
Yeah. And so, with my brothers, I think this is the first time that I had a problem. With my brothers, when we fought, we would fight, scream, yell at each other, kick at each other, punch each other, and then we were done.
Yeah.
By dinner time, we were all gathered around and laughing at each other.
Yeah, who cares?
And that was it.
Right.
Mostly because Mom made us get over it for dinner or we couldn't eat. And eating was more important than fighting. So, but, so, I don't know if you remember when you first met me, what I was like.
Freshman in college.
Yeah.
So...
I was shopping in, like, the boys section. Mm-hmm. Because I was actively rejecting. It was like this vendetta I was on.
Yeah.
I was actively rejecting ultra feminine things. Mm-hmm. Because I felt at the time like I was a weak version of myself. Mm. I knew intellectually that I was capable. I wanted to be physically capable.
Yeah.
And I... also just thought that a lot of the things that girls do were superfluous and, like, didn't make a difference in your success. So I was actively rejecting it. I was always in gym clothes. Always, my hair always in some kind of bun or some kind of ponytail.
Well, you had really short hair at the time.
I did. I chopped my hair off because I didn't want to be seen with long, flowing feminine hair.
Right. I remember
that was why. I didn't want to be seen as that girly. And, I was just really struggling internally because I didn't have a whole lot of friends. It was college. My guy friends were not the same as, like, my guy friends from high school and my brothers, which my brothers are absolutely my closest guy friends that I have. They have seen absolutely every bad side of me that there is. So, I was struggling with all of this, and I was just, like, fighting against it. I didn't have any feminine friends, and I'm in fashion design classes. Yep. So you can imagine the girls are as feminine as you can imagine. Like, if you have that picture in your mind, you're probably pretty close.
Yeah.
Plus a lot more, like, stressed out coffee drinking. But all of the same, like, ultra feminine, ultra creative, like, highbrow stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I was kind of afraid. Like, I didn't feel like I fit there. And you are the first ultra feminine friend that I met and I trusted.
Oh,
Very first one.
Yeah.
And you were the first person that kind of showed me that you can be absolutely ridiculously girly and still be an absolute badass.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And like, you kind of launched me onto this journey that I've been on for the past, like, 5 years.
Yeah.
Where I've kind of been exploring what it is to be me.
Yeah.
And what it is to be into the things I'm into, like jiu-jitsu and rugby and weightlifting and also not be afraid of the more masculine side of things. So, like, ending up in high level leadership positions and being very aggressive as a person and being very brutally honest at times. But also, you've taught me how to marry that to my very soft feminine side, which I think, like, Barbie Jitsu is becoming an evolution of that.
Yeah.
Because it's like you know how when you have a feeling and you don't have a word for that feeling and then you find the word and it's like, there it is.
Yeah.
That's what Barbie Jitsu feels like to me, because from you I've learned that there's extreme power in being a feminine woman and being a kind one and being, you know, just being you can be all those things at one time. And the more, like, when I was reflecting on our friendship and what I wanted to share here, that was something that came up, is, like, that's a moment that I pinpointed, is you were the first, because you were ultra feminine when we met.
Yeah, I was.
She was, like, prep school feminine.
Ooh, like, East Coast, J. Crew.
Yeah.
Abercrombie and Fitch.
You wore a dress, like, almost every day, or a skirt.
Or if I wore jeans, it was super blousey,
flowy, like beautiful. And but you kind of set me.
Sorority girl.
Yeah. Kappa Gamma.
I want to say.
So not even like a less feminine sorority. I don't even know.
I was
you were at the feminine sorority. Like, your colors are what? Like,
blue and blue. Light blue and dark blue.
Yeah.
With
like a fleur-de-lis.
Oh, or a fleur-de-lis. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's super feminine.
Yeah.
But you kind of launched me into accepting the more female side of myself. And it's really been incredibly empowering for me to be able to just... Yeah, and that's one of the things, I think, even when you're being, like, the absolute worst friend and, like, bouncing back and forth about whether or not you can record a podcast on time with me.
Yeah.
And, like, showing up 4 hours late to plans.
Yeah.
I just, like, you make me a better person. Because I trust you.
Yeah.
And you used to... What was wild for me is being your friend. You never pushed me to be something that I wasn't. But when I was trying something new, you encouraged me. And you never outright criticized me for the fact that I was, like, dressing like a boy and doing, like, basically being a salty bitch. And I swear a lot now, but I swore even more then.
Yeah.
And I was just trying too hard. And you never judged me for that. And that was really cool, because it made me more comfortable and willing to try things. And then I tried them, and then I felt like I was allowed to like them, because you know, you didn't seem to grasp my personality and my character on the fact that I was this, like, horrifically tomboyish person. But
you know what? I was attracted to that because I knew that I could trust you. Like, I knew that because you weren't like all, you know, every other girl that I had ever tried to be friends with. I knew that you were authentic. I knew that if you had an issue with me, you were going to talk about it with me because you're an upfront person. That's
when we met, because like, the same guy tried to date both of us.
That's literally what we met.
Which has happened 3 times since then.
Yeah.
3.
Yep.
3.
Let's see, it's Frau Hager from college.
From Molina, yes.
Yeah, and then we have Aaron from Tinder.
Tinder.
And then we have Kevin Potato Sack from across the street.
Yeah, so, but when we met, I think one of the first things I said to you was like, didn't you used to date for hire?
And I was like, don't even get me started.
And then we found out that he was the one, like, you were the other woman and I was the other woman.
Yeah, and we were
and like, instead of getting competitive about that, I thought it was funny because we were both
we
past
thought it was hilarious. And we dropped him and then we became great friends.
Yeah, and then like every time we saw him around campus, it was just panic in his eyes.
You know what though? Because what you're telling me is exactly the same way that you helped me, but literally just the other way around. And I'm not kidding. I mean, I was like, I just went to high school and went to, middle school thinking that I had to be this preppy, girly girl. That was my identity. And she explained to me that, I worked at LA Fitness into personal training, and I never would have done that if it wasn't for her.
I couldn't even get you into the weight room with me.
You were the one that showed me. Okay.
It took me a year and a half to get you to go do squats with me one time.
Yep.
And you panicked.
Yep.
And you put it back and you left.
And then I came back and I did it, and then I fell in love. I'm serious. I would not have had that job. I would not have been in love with fitness as much as I am if you hadn't have introduced it to me in the beginning. And that is one of the biggest. My job is to design athletic wear. That's the biggest. That's my passion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where I would be without that. And you helped me discover that. That's why I think fate exists. We won't get into this, but there's a reason why you came into my life.
I really feel very strongly that we make each other better people.
I know this is so lame, but you're the yin to my yang. It is. It's like we're kind of the opposites that kind of come together and share each other's sides. And you showed me that it's okay to go to the weight room and lift heavy weights. And no, you're not going to become She-Hulk immediately. You're not going to suddenly go from a Samantha to a Samuel immediately. You're gonna be able to go and lift, and you're gonna really enjoy it. You knew that I played soccer, I did track, I danced for 15 years, I was super active, I was involved in teams, and then I got to college and nothing. And you were like, here's this great way that you can still be active and still have that same feeling.
I'm so excited for you to come to jiu-jitsu with me. I'm so ready for you to just move back permanently and come to jiu-jitsu because you are going to love it.
Well, I've been once and it was a blast.
Yeah, well, wait till you get to full-on grappling, more than just what we did in that one class. Mm-hmm. It is, okay, I've put on the abductor machine, I've added 30 pounds without training consistently in the weight room just through jiu-jitsu.
Wow.
And you're going to be able to combine what's so cool to me, and this is why I'm trying to tell every girl I know that she needs to at least try it. And this is one of the reasons I want to start Barbie Jitsu, and the more I learn, the more I'm going to talk about jiu-jitsu. But being a woman and knowing jiu-jitsu is so powerful because jiu-jitsu is all about what your personal body can do and what your strengths are and what your power is and everything like that. And I'm the smallest person in the gym, the smallest. I wasn't, but then Alec hit his growth spurt. So 4 weeks ago, we were the same strength, and now he.
This is the 13-year-old.
Yeah, the one that kicked me in the face 3 times. Yeah. He was the same strength as me at 13 at 113 pounds. So I'm 24 and I'm 140 pounds. So I outweigh him, but he was the same level as me. But recently he's hit his growth spurt, so now he's outpaced me. He's stronger than I could ever hope to be, even if I was consistently in the weight room as much as I wanted to be. I just can't get there. Yeah. So I am the smallest person in the gym, and that's actually been one of the biggest blessings in the grappling because the guys aren't used to it, and I've really learned how to use my smallness and embrace it and really empower myself to be better and to be stronger and to be more technical than the guys.
Yeah, to be more of a weapon because it's a disadvantage that you can make an advantage because they don't have it.
Because now, if we were to go out, because we've been in some dicey bar situations. If we were to go out and somebody were to attack one of us or whatever, part of me is like, go ahead and try to use your entire body against me because I'm going to shrink up and then I'm going to fuck you up from the inside out.
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot of how to manipulate a larger body than me through jiu-jitsu. How to use like my body, how to use the things around me, and how to just use my strengths, which are powerful legs, flexible joints, and a small frame, and use those three things along with the technicalities of jiu-jitsu and the different ways that you can manipulate somebody else's body I'm getting like pretty decent at least keeping up most of the time with these
guys, yeah.
with these big guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. My favorite person to grapple with is 6'4" and 210 pounds.
That's awesome.
Because he can't get a hold of me. But once he does, it's game
great.
over.
Well, yeah,
but it's just really it's such a cool experience mentally to have, to be like working through in my brain and to be experiencing that I can today, this morning at class, which Saturday classes are always very small. Today I was practicing my spider guard and my butterfly guard. And with butterfly guard, it actually pays to be much smaller than your opponent because you have to sit like Indian style within their legs. Yeah. With yours tucked in and like hooked in. Yeah. And then you just lay back and you have complete control of their body. Wow. Complete control. Yeah. So and the guy I was grappling with is like 6'2", and I don't know how much he weighs, but he's on the thinner side. So he probably still has like 20 or 30 pounds on me. But I was able to sit back and actually manipulate his body and put it where I wanted to put it. And I've learned some really cool things about how to manipulate clothing, because I like to practice gi, but like a gi could sub in as a coat. Yeah. So if you're attacked by somebody wearing a coat or a hoodie, it's kind of the same applications. Yeah. So I've learned through a seminar how to use the lapel of the gi, or like the tail of a coat, to tie somebody up and immobilize them or choke them out point blank. So it's all these really cool skills, and you kind of, on one hand, I'm like, am I ever really going to be attacked? Probably not. But on the other hand, it's giving me so much more mental energy. And like my mental capacity is expanding, and I feel like I'm staring into the black hole. Yeah.
Well, because it's constant, okay, what's my next move? And you have to be two steps ahead.
And you can't get bored, because even if you practice a basic move, the most basic jiu-jitsu move, there are so many spin-off alterations from that one move that set you up for the next move, or that you can modify. If he goes here, then I'm going to go there, and if he goes up here, then I'm going to go down here. And so you can't get bored, which unlike rugby, where I just felt like, okay, I get it, I can work out a whole lot and run a lot and get to be the best player I can to maybe go professional one day, to maybe not make a living, because women's rugby doesn't get paid that well. So I got bored there. In the weight room, it's like, okay, great, I can squat 265, but now what? Yeah.
That's true.
So got bored there. Yeah. And it actually gave me more energy for the weight room, because now like I find deficits in my muscles, and I'm like, gotta go work on that.
Well, it's also a little bit more, it's not necessarily you're trying to push us to create as much strength in your body. It's more so, exactly, I need to, well, and also, okay, well, my shoulder I noticed is a little bit weak, so I want to work on that. Or now I'm trying to build leaner muscle because I need to keep my small frame, but I also need to build muscle in that sense. And
and on that too, it's like, oh, my shoulder's feeling a little weak today, so I'm going to have to push myself to learn this other technique and go to my weaker side. Right. And like practice on this side, whereas, you don't get that in a whole lot of other sports. And it's just been so cool. So cool to go through. And I really think, especially young girls, because when we talk about like destructive behaviors, they start at 4, but they really ramp up around like 12 and 13, which as we know from previously and from different studies, is when girls are dropping out of their sports at an exponential rate. And these are like formative years of your life.
Right. And these are when the girls are usually in late late middle school, early high school
Yeah.
is where girls are the meanest.
Yeah,
That's where they
and a lot of
create
them
those
have dropped
bullying
out
and
of their
those cliques.
sports, right? And I remember in high school, I was full of insecurities, full
Oh
of
yeah.
them.
Oh yeah.
I really feel like young girls, it doesn't have to be jiu-jitsu, but it should be jiu-jitsu as far as I'm concerned. But young girls really, I feel very strongly, need to be doing something athletic like this and something aggressive in their bodies. Because one thing that I think 99% of the female population doesn't understand is that you need to be aggressive as a person at times, and you need to be comfortable being aggressive. Like you can't go through life and not be aggressive when you have to be.
When you have to be, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree to some extent. However, like, I was a dancer for 15 years. It's not an aggressive sport, really, at all.
But you do have to attack certain moves with aggression, or you're not going to get them.
That's true. Well, it's more so in the empowerment of, you know, adding strength to your body. Because, I mean, if you know dancers, their bodies are ridiculously, they're strong, they're flexible, they're graceful. I mean, there's a lot that goes into that. And yeah, there's an aggression that goes into the discipline. There's an aggression that goes into, you know, sometimes you do a piece and then you need to have, and it's not, you know, it could be the most beautiful piece in the entire world, but you need to have this aggression of I'm gonna kill it. I'm gonna make it.
And I think that is the aggression I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because you have to know when to go after something. You have to know, and you have to know how to do it appropriately.
Yeah.
Which is something else that you learn it from just about any sport. How do you learn how to work on a team of people with very different interests and very different motivations?
Oh gosh.
Without,
I mean, it's such a huge deal. It makes a huge difference. I mean,
and if you've never played on a sports team,
on a team, in a dance company, in a group.
Yeah, if you've never had to interact with people, if you were never forced to interact with people to achieve a goal like that, where do you learn that?
Yeah.
And how do you and how that carries into your grown-up life is how do you function in an environment anywhere, whether you are an entrepreneur, whether you're working a corporate job, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a nurse, it doesn't matter. How do you interact with the people that you have to work with to be successful if you don't know how to bridge your differences and turn them into strengths and unite for your common goal, which is ultimately your success.
Yeah. And it's learning mutual respect. It's learning that, you know, there are people that are going to think differently and do differently, but you know, and you respect that. They respect you, you respect them, and it's, you know, it's working together. It's team building. It's especially in something like you know, a women's all women's soccer team, or an all women's track team, or, you know, a dance company that's all women. I mean, and I'm saying all women just because there needs to have this camaraderie. That's why I don't pit myself in competition. Sometimes we will accidentally. I mean, it's just ingrained into our minds, but that's why I don't actively go out to be in competition with women. You learn this respect for them, and you're all going for the same thing. You're achieving the same goal, and it doesn't have to be in a team.
It is literally the drunk girl in a bathroom effect.
It is. It so is. It totally is.
That's what it is.
There's no one nicer in this world than a drunk girl in the bathroom.
In a bathroom.
Yeah.
You go in, you're feeling bad.
Yeah.
You come out.
She's gonna compliment
You're Beyonce.
Your shoes, your hair, your outfit,
lipstick, eyebrows.
Yeah.
You know, leave that man, go get that man.
Yeah.
It's the drunk girl in a bathroom effect when you have a group of women working together to empower people, other women, other people, to be their best self. That's Barbie Jitsu, as far as I'm concerned.
Why it's so important to learn that when you're 12 and 13, and when
and also it's okay to sweat for it. It's okay to get dirty for it. Like, it's okay to grind it out, to bleed, to be bruised, to take a hit, to have to get back up, to be beat to hell the next day.
Yeah.
Like, it is okay to have all of those things, because those things are making you stronger, pushing you toward that goal. And it doesn't matter if you don't feel like it's feminine enough, or if it's the wrong. It is absolutely the most feminine thing you can do, is to bleed for your success.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Get down and dirty, and teach it to young girls.
Yeah.
Teach it to them. teach them that, yeah, you might not be able to climb that high on the jungle gym, and you might fall and skin your knee, but you had better get back up and try again, because you might not be able to climb that high the corporate ladder the first time you try. Mm-hmm. But when you fail, you better get back up and try again, and then end up as a CEO.
Yeah. And learn how to respect people, not to stomp on them to get to where you want to go, to understand that there are people that are going to be better than you. There are people that are...
Learn how to take an L.
Yeah, that are going to be... that are going to deserve the job better than you, or deserve that spot on the team more than you.
Yeah.
So what? Work to get... Respect them for that, and then work to get better.
Yeah. There was a tennis player, I think it was Venus Williams, said that she... what was it? She goes, I sweat and I still wear my eyeliner. And I'm just like, yes, because I wear makeup to the jiu-jitsu gym. I don't care that by the end of the roll, I have it melted all the way down my face.
Yeah.
And that I have like big raccoon eyes. It is. It's war paint. I don't care, because I'm there. I'm feminine. I'm doing my best. I'm sweating. Like,
that's another thing that I feel like is in its own podcast itself, is literally just being able to accept that feminism or being feminine can go along with power and success.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
when somebody sees a woman coming into the workplace wearing pumps and a cute mini skirt and has their hair and makeup done, they're taken less seriously than the woman who comes in with a blazer and a bun and glasses and whatever.
And both are acceptable, but you should... Honestly, when I see if I saw both of those girls walk into my workplace, I'd be like, hell yeah, girl, your outfits are awesome.
And perfect example, Legally Blonde.
Yeah.
I will forever love that movie, no matter how ridiculous it is. It promotes the best idea.
She walks into a courtroom wearing hot pink.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to dye my gi pink. Not like hot pink, but like pastel pink. I think I'm going to do it.
I think you should.
I think one day I'm going to sell like light pink gis. I already have pink boxing gloves.
Yeah, hell.
I'll just pick myself out.
Let's make inherently male things feminine.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's what I mean. Honestly, that's what this whole thing is about. Like, I
want to be able to go into work thinking, I can wear this cute blouse and I can do my makeup and take an extra 20 minutes in the bathroom in the morning. One, because I want to. That's just what I like doing. And two, that I'll get respected for it.
Yeah. And then
people
think
walk
I'm just
in and
shake the man's hand and know like 6 different ways to choke him out from there.
Yeah.
That never hurts.
Well, okay, that. Or in my case, like, no, they start talking to me about, athletic clothing, and I'm going to hit you with all of my knowledge because I'm a smart person.
And you've done the time.
Yeah.
You've put in your 10,000 hours.
Yeah. I can look cute, and I can also kick ass intellectually. And
yeah. And then if that doesn't fail, challenge them to a push-ups challenge.
That's true.
Like, just wreck them.
That's true.
That's
squats.
what you do. That's how you handle situations in the workplace.
I could body weight squat for years.
Right. I would, if I ever got in a situation like that, I'd challenge them to a wall sit, because I can
500 squats before I collapse. My thighs are soccer thighs, dance thighs, and then squat thighs.
I had to do a wall sit the other day, like just for a warm up, and they were like, 1 minute wall sit, and I was like, 1 minute? Maybe if you added 10, it'd be a challenge. Okay.
Or planks. I'm really good at planks.
Yeah, so I mean, that's what you got to do, ladies. When you're in a situation and people are putting you down, just challenge them to a feat of physical strength, and then win. That's how it works. Then you're the dominant one.
Oh, God.
You're that alpha bitch.
Yeah. I mean, yes and no, but...
Don't do that. That's terrible advice.
Yeah, that's awful advice. No, go in there and show them that you're beautiful and you're smart at the same time. That you don't have to have one or the other. That's the biggest thing. You can be both.
I feel like the most fearsome sight in the world, and I think Meryl Streep embodies this, is a woman who is unapologetic about everything she is, whatever that is.
Yeah.
This
is who I am, take it or leave it.
Confident and bold and kind and just out there in the world as she is. And that's what I'm trying to get to every day.
Yeah.
And I just think that's what it means to be a woman.
To be powerful and empathetic at the same time.
Yes. To understand that, like, your purpose in life as a woman is whatever drives you and whatever things bring you joy.
Yeah. There's nothing set.
And how the people around you feel.
Yeah.
I just think that that's so...
Yeah. To be gracious, to be graceful, to be humble, but also to be powerful, to be unapologetic, and to be confident.
Yeah, and I really think that it starts at a young age. It starts by digging in and getting involved and being yourself,
and learning
not
respect.
just mentally and intellectually, but physically being yourself.
Yeah.
And I think there's no better way to do that than playing sports and being
learning
active.
about the empowerment of other women without even realizing
Yeah.
it. I mean, you really are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna try to end on some meaningful quote, but I think that's
I think that's pretty good. I don't know. I feel
think-
pretty inspired.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Female friendships are a beautiful thing.
Oh, you know what? I have a good quote.
Okay.
Ooh. Okay, I have a quote. It's a really good quote. This is a great quote that I actually just found out of nowhere, and I used in a letter to another friend, and they called me telling me it was really powerful to them. So anyways, I love this quote. It says, "The best kind of friendships are fierce lady friendships where you aggressively believe in each other, defend each other, and think the other deserves the world."
Facts.
Which I, of course, think that of you. But
Anyways. Same for you. I am...
Fierce lady friendships.
Yeah,
there's nothing like a fierce lady friendship.
Nothing. I can formulate this fierce lady friendship with another girl in 30 seconds.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, everything you do that's a good thing for you.
Yeah.
Every good decision you make, I'm there yes, get it!
Yeah.
And when I meet girls out doing awesome things, it's the same thing. And I just, it's not an easy thing to do. It's something I did have to teach myself.
Yeah.
I did have to curb bad behaviors. I did have to...
you know what? Every woman does.
Yeah, but I think that's
too.
a worthy goal.
Yeah.
So...
just empower each other.
Think about your behaviors.
Stop pitting each other against each other.
Tell the truth.
But
love each other.
Yes.
Be honest. Encourage good behavior.
Be fierce.
Do the things that are best for you.
Support each other. One more thing.
Love you.
Oh, I love you too.
All right, we're gonna wrap this up because we both need to eat and pull our lives together for the week. So, any questions? Anything you want to add to the conversation? By all means, comment, email, share. Sam, you'll be back many, many times.
I'm sure.
You might end up being my permanent co-host. We'll see what happens. But everybody else, if you have something to contribute, let me know. If any questions. Other than that, I guess I'll talk to y'all next time. See ya.